Bonjour. Welcome to Lagniappe with Mon Voyage. I'm Nicole LeBlanc. Thank you for joining me again today. Um, this episode is going to be about a place near and dear to my heart, my hometown. I know you're normally used to hearing me talk a lot about European destinations because that is my specialty, but I do plan lots of domestic trips for people, and one of my favorite destinations is New Orleans because I like to eat and I like music. So there's so many things to do in New Orleans. Of course, there are all the historic areas, the French Quarter being the most famous, St. Louis Cathedral being in Jackson Square, the heart of the French Quarter. I was married in St. Louis Cathedral almost 30 years ago. It's surrounded by the Pontalba buildings, which are some of the oldest apartment buildings in North America. On one side of St. Louis Cathedral, basilica, it's a basilica, minor basilica, you have part of the Louisiana State Museum system. On the left side, you have the Cabildo, and on the right side, you have the Presbytere. The Cabildo is a real treasure trove of Louisiana history, especially the early part of the colonization of Louisiana by France, and under Spanish hands as well. On the other side, at the Presbytere, there is an outstanding permanent exhibit on Hurricane Katrina, which I don't like to talk about, and not the exhibit, but Katrina. Makes me sad. But also at the Presbytere is an amazing permanent exhibit on Mardi Gras culture. And Mardi Gras culture in Louisiana is not just one thing, it's many things. You have African American Mardi Gras culture, which is typified by Zulu and the Mardi Gras Indian tribes. You have old line uptown New Orleans Mardi Gras culture, which actually is sort of very tied in with the tradition of debutante balls, believe it or not, and politics. You have newer parades, which are a more inclusive tradition, shall we say. And you also have truck parades, which are, flat out just family fun. And you have Cajun Mardi Gras, which is over to the south, more over to the southwest area of the state. And they have different traditions for Cajun Mardi Gras, which includes masking, the completely different kinds of masks made out of screens, which you'll see in the exhibit, how they make them, and riding on horseback to neighboring farms to gather up the ingredients to make a community gumbo. So if you go to, for example, Mamu for Mardi Gras, you can find the riders and follow them around. They have a band and on a trailer behind them. And then you can go back to town to the American Legion Hall and have some really good gumbo. In New Orleans proper, you will find Mardi Gras parades for about 10 days before Mardi Gras. I would recommend going not the weekend immediately before Mardi Gras, but the weekend that's a week and a half before Mardi Gras. It's a little bit less crazy. On the French Quarter, you also have lots of fantastic art galleries, famous and not famous restaurants serving the outstanding cuisine that you find in New Orleans. I mean, you could just eat your way through the city. You need to stay there for weeks, really, just to try all the food. You can ride the streetcar all over town, not all over town, but to certain parts of town. This is the Canal Street streetcar on Canal Street in New Orleans. I used to ride the green St. Charles streetcar to school every morning when I was going to high school. So that was my school bus. The uptown area where the green streetcar runs is full of elegant Victorian mansions of all colors and shapes and sizes. Live oak trees forming a beautiful canopy in certain areas. In the springtime, the rhododendrons, the azaleas just are like pink towers of foam along some of these houses on St. Charles Avenue. It's just gorgeous. You can take cemetery tours, of course, in New Orleans. There's the great live local theater scene. The World War II Museum is another highlight of New Orleans. It's 3 huge buildings now. It's grown and grown over the years. I think I would recommend at least a full day just for the World War II Museum by itself. You can go out a little bit out of town on a swamp tour, see some alligators, if that sounds fun. If you want to see some alligators inside, you can go to the Aquarium of the Americas and see the white alligators, as well as all kinds of other sea creatures, and amazing fish tanks with music composed especially for them. Take a riverboat cruise, have a leisurely view of the city, and go down to the Chalmette battlefield. The War of 1812 was kind of really over, but they were still going to have a battle of New Orleans. If you would like to have a really intensive food experience in New Orleans, there are 2 times to go. One is Culinary New Orleans, which is in August. Not the most comfortable time to be in New Orleans. It's a little muggy and hot, but the hotels are very inexpensive at that time. And lots of restaurants have great prefix lunches and dinners available as part of that Culinary New Orleans tradition. The other intense foodie experience would be Réveillon, which is over the holiday season. It's expanded from the concept of Réveillon midnight dinner on Christmas Eve. They've sort of adopted it as a month-long prefix extravaganza at the city's best restaurants. And you can go there and really just eat your dinner every night, and you can hardly eat until the dinner the next night because it's so much delicious food. And of course, I would mention one other foodie experience, which you might initially think is a music experience, and that is the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, which is normally held the last weekend in April and the first weekend in May. Yes, there are probably a dozen or more stages featuring all kinds of great music. It's just the best way to spend the day in the spring. And the flip side of all this is all the great food at Jazz Fest. The food booths are just of endless variety, so many delicious options. And really, when you go, you want to have a map of the food booths and mark the food that you want to try ahead of time so you can be prepared and have a plan. Same thing with the music schedule. It's good to have a plan for the things that you might want to see. You can also just wander around and see what's happening, but I'm a planner, so of course I have to have a plan. If you would like to have a plan for New Orleans or any other destination, please feel free to contact me on my website, monvoyagetravel.com. Until the next time, à la prochaine.